Blenders Eyewear has the balls to support a hard-hitting, advertiser-unfriendly channel like this. HighFlix20 is your coupon code, and the link is in the description. This is breaking news. The NFL announced today that because of lost revenues due to kneeling, they are forced to eliminate one team from their roster. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers will now merge with the Green Bay Packers to form the Tampax. They will be good for only one period, and there will be no second string. Now, back to the video. Since high-energy short burst vlogs are all the rage today, let's do something a little bit different. Something more meaningful. Did you know that up until the 1980s, you rarely heard the word trillion? Matter of fact, I bet they used the word trillion back then as much as we use the word quadrillion today. But don't worry, if we continue to let government functionaries squander our wealth, the everyday congressional use of the word quadrillion is just around the corner. To put things into perspective, back in 1980, the national debt was $917 billion, which is a pretty anemic number compared to today's debt. 10 years later, in 1990, it was $3.2 trillion. By the year 2000, it had almost doubled to $5.6 trillion.
5.6 trillion.
4 years later, in 2004, the national debt increased to $7.6 trillion.
Who the f*** do you think you are?
By the time Obama took his first term in office in 2008, things started really heating up for the national debt, which sat at $10.7 trillion that year. So from our country's inception in 1776 to 2008, in that 232-year period of time, our country accumulated $10.7 trillion in debt. But check this out. When Obama was sworn into office on January 20th, 2009, the national debt was $10.7 trillion. When he left office on January 20th, 2017, the national debt had risen to $19.9 trillion. His administration had overseen the accumulation of over $9 trillion in 8 years, when it had taken 232 years to accumulate the first 10 trillion. Now, some might say, Brian, don't worry about it. Politicians and central bankers know exactly what happened to that money. Well, check this out.
There's a table on page 26 which consists of your balance sheet. And one of the entries on the balance sheet is under assets, central bank liquidity swaps, which shows an increase from the end of 2007 from $24 billion to $553 billion in change at the end of 2008. What's that?
Those are swaps that were done with foreign central banks.
So who got the money?
To financial institutions in Europe and other countries.
Which ones?
I don't know.
$500 billion, and you don't know who got the money?
The loan went to the loans go to the central banks, and they then put them out to their to their institutions to try to bring down short-term interest rates in dollar markets around the world.
Well, let's start with which central banks got the money.
There are 14 of them, which are listed in our. I'm sure they're listed in here somewhere.
All right. So, who actually made that decision to hand out $1 trillion that way? $500 billion. Who made that decision?
The Federal Open Market Committee.
Okay. And was it done at one time or in a series of meetings?
A series of meetings.
And under what legal authority?
We have a long-standing legal authority to do swaps with other central banks. It's not costing Americans anything. We're getting interest back and it comes back. It's not at the cost of any American credit.
Well, look at the next page. The very next page has the U.S. dollar nominal exchange rate, which shows a 20% increase in the U.S. dollar nominal exchange rate at exactly the same time that you were handing out $500 billion to foreigners. Do you think that's a coincidence?
Yes.
So who got the money?
To financial institutions in Europe and other countries.
Which ones?
I don't know.
You are a meathead. What did you call me? A meathead. Dead from the neck up. Meathead.
I don't know.
He doesn't know who he gave $500 billion to? How about this example?
The adversary is closer to home. It's the Pentagon bureaucracy. According to some estimates, we cannot track $2.3 trillion in transactions.
$2.3 trillion unaccounted for? Maybe this small example will hammer the point home.
Right, but you're the Inspector General. My question to you specifically is, do you know who received that $1 trillion plus that the Fed extended and put on its balance sheet since last September? Do you know the identity of the recipients?
I do not know. We have not looked at that specific area.
I'm asking you if your agency has, in fact, according to Bloomberg, extended $9 trillion in credit, which, by the way, works out to $30,000 for every single man, woman, and child in this country. I'd like to know, if you're not responsible for investigating that, who is?
Would you mind repeating the question one more time?
What have you done to investigate the off-balance sheet transactions conducted by the Federal Reserve, which, according to Bloomberg, now total $9 trillion in the last 8 months?
I'll have to look specifically at that Bloomberg article. I'm not. I don't know if I have actually seen that particular one.
That's not the point. The question is, have you done any investigation or auditing of off-balance sheet transactions conducted by the Federal Reserve? Have you conducted any investigation or auditing of the losses that the Federal Reserve has experienced on its lending since last September?
We're still in the process of conducting that review. Until we actually, go out and gather the information, I'm not in a position to really respond to the specific question.
So are you telling me that nobody at the Federal Reserve is keeping track on a regular basis of the losses that it incurs on what is now a $2 trillion portfolio? Mr. Chairman, my time is up, but I have to tell you honestly, I am shocked to find out that nobody at the Federal Reserve, including the Inspector General, is keeping track of it.
$9 trillion missing from Federal Reserve balance sheets. And guys, this only scratches the surface of this massive criminal cartel known as the Federal Reserve and the military-industrial complex.
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes.
But it's no big deal, right? I think it's pretty darn safe to say that with all the waste and fiscal irresponsibility of political parasitic sock puppets and their special interest handlers, that if we left them in charge of the desert, it wouldn't take them long before they ran out of sand. Allow me to put the overused term trillion into a practical perspective. This is one petrodollar Federal Reserve fiat currency note. Its thickness is 0.0043 inches. That means that a stack of 100 of these babies is 0.43 inches or a little under a half an inch. So naturally, 1,000 FRNs stacked on top of each other would be 4.3 inches high. $1 million worth of stacked $1 bills would be 4,300 inches high, which is about 358 feet or the height of a 35-story building. How about $100 million? Well, that would be 35,851 feet high or 6.79 miles, the approximate height that a commercial jetliner flies. Now this is getting a little sobering and scary. $1 billion is 67.9 miles high. That means 100 billion $1 bills stacked on top of each other rises 6,786.6 miles from the surface of the Earth. So how about a trillion? You know, that number political parasites like to throw around like it's nothing. Well, that's easy. Just add another zero. It's 67,866 miles. And if we add the unfunded liabilities of Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, that debt load skyrockets to over $100 trillion. And for all you mathematicians out there, that's 6.7 million miles. So the next time somebody tells you you need to get out there and perform your civic duty and vote for the next political snake oil salesman, maybe you can keep these numbers in mind. As Bastiat wrote, when plunder becomes a way of life for a group of men living together in a society, they create for themselves in the course of time a legal system that authorizes it and a moral code that glorifies it. If you guys enjoyed this video, subscribe to the channel, give it a thumbs up, and share it with everybody you know.
If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and share it with others. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe and notification button and you'll be alerted when I upload new videos. Today's featured shirts are Protecting and Serving the Crap Out of You, Taxation is Legalized Theft, and Critical Thinking in Progress. Please stand by. Your $5 off promo code is in a link in the description for you for every shirt in the store. And don't forget to leave your thoughts for the world and the Google Thought Police in the comment section below. I'll see you guys in the next video.
Yesterday's trash queens saved the blessing.